Hello, hello. This is my artifact episode number 3744. Today's date is December 5, 2025. It's been almost like night at 9:57 p.m. All right. Uh, should we jump into the question? Let's go. Okay. The question is, what if your pet had human intelligence? Oh, like basically, why I'm kind of like a somebody. Okay, let me give you this thing. I'm not really like I'm not really kind of like a good at kind of like a pet and kind of like a dog and cat and things and that and that. Like basically this thing I don't really love animal. Like I love animal. It's not really that I don't really love animal. But it's just like that a pet and dog like a basically this thing na every kind of like question is kind of like a meant to be kind of like associated with a somewhat something pet and dog, and if you like to become a kind of like a assembly dog, or which kind of like a dog breed that you want, or kind of like assembly what if you could talk with the kind of like assembly animal or things like that. Like basically this thing now. Okay, what is that? Okay, where is this question actually came from? Okay, let's just okay. So basically this thing is that okay, I am kind of like asking this kind of like a what if question. Okay, yeah. So I kind of like went to ChatGPT and kind of like somebody set the prompt that key give me a 200 question of what if. Okay, yeah. Associate with the something like a sometimes what if question associated with the kind of like a business or kind of like a somebody spirituality or kind of like a somebody personal development or things like that. And some of the question kind of like associate with the fun. Okay, yeah. Now this is kind of like a fun territory of kind of like a what if question. And in this fun territory they are asking kind of like such a weird question regarding about something. And usually is this thing that every single time it kind of like a somebody giving me a kind of like a pet related question, like a what if you could kind of like speak with your dog or speak with your cat and things and that and and basically just like that na, yeah, what should I why do I supposed to kind of like give this particular answer just like that. Like basically this is na ki if I wanted to kind of like give any kind of like some answer regarding about question, I want to kind of like somebody understand regarding about question should supposed to be add something really value and things like that. Like talking about dog and talking about cat and things and that, I don't really think that it would be that much kind of like something really important that I should supposed to be kind of like a talk about this thing. And I'm like, it doesn't mean that like I don't really like animal. I like animal, but I like the animal as the way that they are animal, not as a kind of like a pet. Okay, yeah. But still, is this thing this kind of like question is actually, but I should supposed to be understand that ki sometimes some of the question are kind of like a feel little bit of kind of like a pathetic and kind of like a simply just like kind of like a simply below average and things like that. But still, they are kind of like holding some sort of amount of values and things like that. Okay, yeah. Even if you kind of like don't really like it or things, you still have to kind of like give this particular answer because it's just like that. Now it kind of like adds some sort of amount of values while you are kind of like giving this particular answer and things like that. It's not meant to be kind of like simply giving the answer. It's meant to be kind of like simply you have to associate with that answer how much you try to figure it out. Like basically, it's I don't know, yeah. But talking about kind of like a dog and cat and things, it's just like I don't know. Like basically, I kind of like mentioned this thing so many times in the artifact. Like yeah, like dog and things and that, and every time it kind of like shows regarding about what kind of like a dog do you like and what kind of like if you meant to talk and things and that. And still this question is also arise that okay, what if kind of like somebody the your pet has a kind of like human intelligence and things like that, then what would gonna happen. And it's a kind of like a thing is that na ki, okay, I just okay first let's give the answer. Yeah, all right. So what exactly is this thing? Okay, so this is what if question. Okay, yeah, why am I asking this question to myself? I don't know. I am kind of like a really fucked up shit that I'm talking this kind of like question, but still, why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Why I'm asking is because of that case. Sometimes what if question is kind of like a really good and really kind of like an interested way to give the answer. It kind of like a force you to think about that reality, and when I try to think about that reality, I'm kind of like utilizing my knowledge and information and experience that I've been through. And when I try to utilize that knowledge, when I try to create this reality, I'm kind of like somebody utilizing this information, and somewhat something it make me feel really good while kind of giving this particular answer. I don't know how do I supposed to explain how do I feel really good, but it felt somewhat something good. Okay, yeah. Um, Now, disclaimer: the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong either. It's raw, it's unfiltered, it's just my opinion. So do not believe in any kind of information that I'm saying, or do not seek for kind of any information that I'm saying. It's just my opinion, and opinion are subjective. All right. Now, regarding about the question says that, what if your pet has a kind of like human intelligence? Now, basically, this thing, the human intelligence that we have is not kind of like a happened throughout, just kind of like somebody just born and kind of like came. Basically, it's this thing that the human intelligence that we are actually experiencing, it's a kind of like something happen is because of the kind of like something, uh, our brain is actually trained from millions of billions of years of experience and things like that. Okay, if you still not really understand what I'm trying to tell you, is this thing that like basically is this thing, every generation after we are kind of like passing some sort of information. Okay, now what exactly is this thing, what kind of like information that we pass? Okay, so information pass means what, like basically is this thing na ki like millions of year ago we are kind of like somebody just hunter gatherer and things like that. But right now, since we are born, we are kind of like somebody equipped with such a information that kind of like meant to be considered as a kind of like somebody human intelligence with a higher thought process and things and that and that. How is this actually happen is because of that after the kind of like so many generation, we are kind of like somebody the sharing information to the next generation, and next generation also kind of like sharing the information to the next generation, and that's why we are kind of like somebody have this particular intelligence which kind of like really good and things like that. Like basically is this thing, millions of year ago we kind of like put the brain from millions of year ago and kind of like create the kind of like somebody try to compare the brain from today's human person and millions of year ago person. We kind of like realize that today we have kind of like a lot of neurons. Like at that time people do have at that time kind of like they also have kind of like neurons and things like that. It's not like that, but problem is that uh I don't know. I'm not kind of like a surgeon or neurosurgeon or things like that. But I kind of like realize that we've been through a lot of situation, and sometimes na kind of like somebody is this thing that experience is, it's very hard to explain. Okay, yeah, because okay, let me kind of like talk about the human intelligence. Okay, yeah. So basically, is this thing? Okay, have you ever kind of like I don't know. At this moment, I wanted to kind of like give the answer, but it's just like that. What kind of like answer should I supposed to be give? It's just like that. I don't know, yeah, dude. It's just like it's a human intelligence. It's kind of like we've been through a lot of kind of like some health situation that's why we are kind of like that much intelligence and things like that. It's not kind of like happen just kind of like just be born and kind of like get this human intelligence. No, like a millions of kind of like effort, and that's why our brain is kind of like a train in that way. That's why our human intelligence is kind of like a work is that much efficient in our body and things like that. And suddenly that human intelligence is actually pop up in kind of like your pet. This is not actually possible because it's just like that. There is a lot of things actually involved, like basically your surrounding, your organ, your kind of like a way that you walk and things and that. It's a lot of things, dude. Okay, yeah. Like basically, just can you imagine that? What if your pet has a kind of like a human intelligence? Next day, that your pet is kind of like started walking on his two leg. Like it does kind of like somebody does dog will kind of like a walk on two leg? Definitely not. But then, what exactly is this thing? Will they kind of like talk to each other? Will they kind of like somebody is this thing? Yeah, they might gonna talk and things like that, but it's very hard to believe in things like that. Like basically when I try to think about this thing now, it kind of like became frictional, and I don't want to talk about the frictional because friction is a kind of like a thing that it's not gonna possible in every possible way. Yeah, it's somewhat something kind of like some mad scientist will gonna put something like a human intelligence in a kind of like a pet, in your kind of like a in your pet, but it's not possible, dude. It's not. Okay, it's just a kind of like just a friction thing. Okay, yeah. And when it kind of like meant to be a kind of like a friction means kind of like some imaginary stuff and things like that, then yeah. Then it became kind of like a very subjective, and yeah. By the way, also is this thing now. I don't know at this moment. I am not really having any kind of like a mood to talk right now. Yeah, why? Uh, I, I don't know why. I'm kind of like a bit really lazy today. I'm kind of like only not putting that much effort to kind of like a record artifact. Just like ah. Sometimes it's kind of like a only cheat day, and I wanted to make this day as a cheat. Like by the way, I actually record the artifact in the morning too, so which is kind of like something really good. But still, yeah, sometimes I just don't want to record artifact. Just like yeah, fuck it, whatever. All right, this is it. I'm gonna end here so quickly. All right, and thank you.